Hey guys, Kenny within the pocket here again. And today, I got a few things I'm going to be talking about, but the main idea of the video is going to be good summer knife choices. The two knives I'm going to be talking about today are both very light and slim and fit really good in shorts. And it's that time of year, it's summertime, it's getting warm outside, and we're wearing those lightweight shorts. So both of these knives are 2 ounces or under and fit very well in those shorts. The first one I'm going to talk about today is the Benchmade Bugout. As you can see, this is an upgraded, customized version. I took the regular Bugout and got the Rogue Bladeworks aftermarket scales off of eBay. These feel great texture on them. They didn't make the knife any heavier really, just a little bit, and they just made the knife much more rigid, very much, much more sturdy in hand. But, it really looks great too. This becomes almost like a gentleman's carry when you put these scales on it. But yeah, really love the scales, love this knife, but we're going to get right into it. And the next knife in this video is going to be, and this is also, I feel like if you're talking about knife manufacturers, big production knife manufacturers, this would be the other company in that talk, and that's Spyderco. And this is the Chaparral Lightwieght. This is another great lightweight knife. It fits in the pocket very well. It's just extremely thin blade, awesome knife. And I'm going to talk about both of these. First thing I'm going to talk about is the pros of both knives. And then I'm going to talk about the cons, and that'll get more into which knife I prefer and the comparison of the two. So, first off, I'm going to talk weight on both of these. So the Bugout is lighter, just barely, just slightly lighter at 1.85 is what the description online says on most sites, 1.85, which is correct probably with the FRN lightweight scales. With the carbon fiber, it is a little bit heavier, but like I said, only slightly. Make sure we're all zeroed out here. You're going to see that that is actually 1.93. It was going in between 1.93 and 1.94. So, it's relatively heavier, but I mean, you're talking 0.08, 0.09. That's really minute. I mean, you're not going to notice that in hand or even in your pocket. It's just very slightly heavier with the carbon fiber handles, but it more than makes up for it with the rigidity that it gains. Now, the Chaparral, the online it says 2 ounces. I find 2.07. Like again, that's so minute. You're not going to notice the differences, but it is what it is. All right. And then moving right along, they are both very slim knives. This is the other thing that they do well. The Chaparral has it by a little bit on the Benchmade Bugout, so that's a little bit slimmer as far as, I mean, that also depends on what dimension you're talking about. If you're talking the thickness of the knife, the Chaparral is 3.2 and the Bugout's 0.42, which is stock. With these scales, it's actually 0.38, so just 3/8 of an inch with the carbon fiber scales. So it did get a little slimmer with the carbon fiber, I think because the Gribery, or whatever you want to call it, scales have more of a swell, I think, to the handle, and these are just flat. So I think that's why these are actually slimmer. Now, the other aspect I was talking about that actually the Bugout's slimmer is this dimension, which on the Bugout it's 1.15 from here to here, which is, that's 1 and 5/32, just over 1 and 1/8 inch. And then this one, the Chaparral, is 1.38, so 1 and 3/8 inches, which is still very, this is fine. It's just definitely a little wider in the pocket, which, it's just a little bit. But this dimension is definitely more noticeable when you're wearing it in the 5th pocket. This one doesn't quite fit in that 5th pocket. Quick look at in the pocket. You're going to see these are some of my summer shorts, a lot lighter. This is the Chaparral going in the 5th pocket. It does fit nicely in there. It's nicely at an angle too, or even straight up and down it fits, leaving a lot of space in that 5th pocket. And in comparison with Benchmade, I mean, it's a longer handle, you can tell. It's not gonna fit. At an angle, sort of fits, but it definitely doesn't really fit in that 5th pocket. We can go down here into the regular pocket though, and it fits nicely, and it does, you know, just tuck away there. It's nice in that regular pocket. Fits fine. Chaparral as well really disappears down there, taking up no space at the bottom of your pocket. But, you know, with it fitting up here, obviously I'm gonna put it up there, which is definitely a benefit of this over the Bugout. You know, nothing in that pocket down there. Great for my wallet and keys, which is what I keep there. So, great. That's it. I am going to put the specs on the page right now. I'll do the specs for the Bugout and the Chaparral on the page so you can see those. I know everyone can go online and see those anywhere, so I don't feel it's necessary for me to talk about it for too long. But moving right along, I'm going to go into the blade steels and, you know, like the plus and minuses on the blade steels, which is, I would say the Chaparral definitely has the upper hand on this one with the XHP steel, and I actually just put a polished edge on this. I don't know if this is gonna, if you're gonna pick this up in the camera. I don't really have a light above. I'll put a picture on the screen with showing my polished edge I just got on this using the KME sharpening system. This steel I found was not that hard to sharpen. I would say it's very similar to S30 as far as sharpening and sharpenability, but it did sharpen up nicely. I didn't find that it was, you know, really hard to sharpen or anything, but it got that polish fairly easy and it came out extremely sharp. It took an extremely fine edge and it's extremely slicey with that edge on it now. Word for it. The S30 in the Benchmade Bugout is fine. We all know S30. S30's, you know, it's been around for a while now, and it was a super steel, but, you know, nowadays, I don't know if you could even consider it super steel. It's still, you know, it's a powder metallurgy steel, and it's excellent. I love especially Benchmade does a really good job with their S30. I find it to be a little bit harder than the Spyderco S30 in my Para 3, but, you know, that might be just my knife, that might just be my examples. I feel like the Spyderco is a little bit softer, but it does take a very fine edge, almost maybe even more acute than the Benchmade. I don't know, it might just be my different experiences with it, but I found that the Benchmade S30 is a little bit harder. Maybe they bring it to a higher hardness. Yeah, the XHP is excellent steel though, and I really do think the XHP wins over the S30. I do like it. I don't know about toughness, which one would win. I haven't had any chipping yet in my S30, but I haven't had any, well, I did have the tip chip on this, but it hit concrete, so I would expect that from just about any steel. So I'm not surprised by the fact that I got a little chipping on the XHP, but I haven't had any chipping in the S30 yet. So we'll see how that goes as I, you know, experiment more with the steels. I'm gonna put the two different steels on the page so you can see what the two different steels attributes are. And with those attributes, you can see that S30 is very similar to XHP, but the S30 does have more molybdenum, silicon, and vanadium. But the XHP has more carbon and chromium, and I find that holds a longer edge. But the toughness, I'm not sure of yet. You know, the toughness is still suspect. Now, the other thing that these have going for them is an excellent stock thickness, the blade stock thickness, which is, and the Chaparral again wins in this. It's 0.08, or I guess wins. It's thinner. It's going to be a more slicey blade. As you can see, it has distal tapering to the tip, and it has a very acute, very fine tip, which is going to be excellent for slicing and getting into packages and stuff, but Not so great for if you're doing some heavy use of the blade. Definitely don't want to go nuts with this blade. You probably will snap it. And then the Benchmade has an excellent, very thin blade as well, but it's definitely got some more, it's got some more beef in the tip and stuff. This is 0.09, so just barely. I mean, you're talking 0.01 more than, or thicker than the Chaparral, which is very, very minute. But you do notice the sliciness of this because of the full flat grind. This is a flat grind up to this flat section here with the swedge up front. I find that this blade is extra slicey though. I don't think it's, I don't find it not to be slicey enough, but it is definitely beefier than this blade. And you're going to get more hard use out of the Benchmade Bugout than you would out of the Chaparral. But use, this is where you're really going to figure out which knife is best for you. I feel like if you're using it for harder uses, if you work at a wood shop or something and you're going to be using this thing for more intense stuff, I would go with the Bugout. It's just beefier. It's got a longer handle. It just fits in the hand a little better. It's a little thicker, which could be in pocket. It's going to be a little thicker in the pocket, but in your hand, it's going to fill it a little better. And it's just a nice handle that's very ergonomic. Excellent in hand and in any grip. Reverse grip, the pinch grip. Everything feels good. I really enjoy this knife in hand. It is a little thin, but not as much as the Chaparral, which is where the application of use. If you're pulling this thing out to just cut a box and putting it back in your pocket, I feel like this is great. I did cut up a lot of cardboard with this knife. It felt really good. It just, it's just got a thinner handle. So if you're doing a lot of cutting, it's definitely going to get to you. When you're bearing down on it like this, it definitely feels thin in hand. Now this knife has it does have a 4-finger grip when you put your finger into the choil. So it does have a nice 4-finger grip. And this is the only way I really use this knife. I don't come back here, even though my hands do just barely fit. And again, I'll talk about my hand size. I'm about a medium to large, probably more of a large because of the thickness of my fingers. But, this fits in hand really well. This does too, but, back here, I'm a little, my pinky wants to fall off. It does work, and you can use it from back here, but I find myself in this grip 95% of the time. So, and I'm sure you will too. It just feels better. And the pocket clip is a little bit of a hot spot here in the hand, but it's not so severe that I would make a big deal out of it. My pocket clip, I don't know if this is how, I've heard stuff about soft Spyderco, the wire clip. This one's really soft. It's horrible. Look at that. That is really bad as far as the amount this thing pulls off. I hate this clip. And I want to call Spyderco. Maybe in the comments let me know if you've had any experience with that and if you've talked to Spyderco, what they do about it. Really quickly, I want to do a size comparison of these knives. We got the Benchmade 940 up here. You can see that's got a little bit longer blade than the Bugout. And about the same size handle if you're looking at it from where the finger choil starts. Maybe a little bit longer on the Bugout, but yeah, you got that extra blade length too from the 940. Down here, we'll go ahead and do the mini grip, and you can see that's a relatively similar knife to the Chaparral as far as size comparison. And then of course I'll bring in a Spyderco. Let's bring in the Para 3. Get a size comparison there. You can see that's got a much longer handle than the Chaparral. Very similar blade lengths. Oh. Very similar blade lengths. You got about a 1/4 inch more, and then in the cutting edge you got about maybe, a little over, maybe 3/8, maybe. But yeah, it's very similar in cutting edge. So, you are getting a good amount of cutting out of both of these knives, especially the Bugout. You get a lot of cutting edge out of that for the size of the knife and the weight. You are just getting tons of knife for 1.8 ounces. And that's really where this knife excels, is I mean, the amount of cutting ability, the cutting edge you're getting, the blade to handle ratio is excellent on this knife. And you get a lot for 1.8 ounces. 1.93 or 94 if you're talking with the CF handles, which I would actually very highly recommend these handles. And the anodized screws are from Blades We Love, also off of eBay is where I got those. And this knife is excellent with these scales. It feels very sturdy in hand, unlike the FRN handle scales that come with it. Those you could kind of squeeze and almost touch them together when you're bearing down on the knife, and I find this to be much more sturdy and feel much better in the hand. And it's also just, it looks great, and it becomes almost like a gentleman's knife, like I said before. Excellent looking. So, love those scales. Anyways, moving along, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the Chaparral, which is it's gonna be lighter. So for the application, you got a lighter, slimmer, slicier knife. So if that's what you're doing, if you're just using it to cut open boxes and fruit and stuff like that, it works just fine. I'm going to talk about the cons of these knives. This is really where you're going to see, someone pull away in this whole thing. And as far as how much I use the knives, you're going to also see. So the cons, which is, the Benchmade, they're both thin in the hand. Both of these knives are thin, and when you're using them for extended use, they are both very thin in the hand. This one is definitely, the Bugout is definitely more comfortable for extended use, and it has a longer blade, so you're not going to be using as much of the blade. The Chaparral is very thin in hand though, so it's also thinner in the pocket, which is a benefit, but for extended use, this knife is definitely not the choice if I was choosing between these two. Blade can be a con if you're going to be doing harder use. So neither of these knives I would say would be the best choice if you're using it for hard use at work, but the Bugout's definitely the better choice if you are using it for harder use. So the deployment of the two knives, I would say that this one by far goes to the Bugout. And not necessarily my Bugout, but most Bugouts. And the way this thing, it just flies out when you push the thumb stud. It's just excellent. It's fun. You can Spidey flick it. You can go from the thumb, and you could just use the axis lock. Sorry guys, I'm trying to do this in the tripod, and this isn't the best example of an axis lock. So yeah, it's really fun to play with, fun to sit on the couch and just, flick open and close. Definitely a fun knife. But the Spyderco definitely is fun as well. I find this fun to play with, to be honest. I play with this all the time. Mine is totally flickable. I know I've heard people say that they're not very flickable, but mine is, so I have fun with it. I flick it open. I'm always playing with it when I'm sitting there and I have it. But Bugout definitely wins in deployment and just, fun in use. But, these are knives. They're supposed to be functional. It's all about function over, it's function over feature type of thing with knives. So, I mean, even though features definitely have a play in what you want and what you get, the function of the knife is the most important thing. So, in saying that, I'm going to go into the fit and finish of the two knives. And this is where we get a clear winner, and this is where I'm going to kind of go into a rant. The Chaparral is very, very nice. The fit and finish, it came beautiful. It was very smooth. Everything's nice. It's just well done. Centering was perfect. The action was very smooth. It did, after about a week, get to the point like this where it can just fly out from a flick from the thumb or the middle finger. It does have a perfect lockup with that action. And, it is a thin blade, so from out here you can bend it. But as far as from here, we got no rock in the lockup either way. Very good lockup and still very smooth. This is my first Tai Chung factory, Spyderco, and I'm so stoked with it. And I will probably be getting another Tai Chung eventually. I love the fit and finish. It came out amazing. I did have to knock this down a little bit, and in here they were a little sharp. I did open this knife up and smooth it out a little and just, you know, clean it up and everything. So this knife is excellent as far as fit and finish goes, tolerances and everything. This knife is super tight, very well done. You know, the back spring, it's actually flush here when it's closed and a little low here. And then when you open it, it's perfect here and a little low here. I think it's just a little bit of, you know, they have to give and take with the back spring on this one. But yeah, so anyways, moving along, the Bugout. This is really, you know, at this point, I'm just going to take the Chaparral off the table. Amazing knife. This is where this knife pulls ahead. I love the Chaparral. It finds its way into my pocket a lot, especially during the summer like this. The Bugout. I mean, I love this knife, guys. Don't get me wrong. I really do. It's light. It's got a beautiful drop point blade that I love the blade shape. That's what initially drew me to the knife. When it got to me with the stock handles, the centering was awful. And when I say awful, it was almost rubbing right out of the box. If you can see this, I don't know. You know, it's off now, even with the carbon fiber scales and me working extremely hard on trying to get this centered. As well as being off center, it also, the action wasn't amazing. This was my first access lock, but it's also my worst example of an access lock. I mean, to get this thing locking true, to get this thing without play, and it even has a minor bit of play right now. It's not even close to dropping free. It's actually not very fun. I mean, it is. I can get it to work from muscle memory, but it's not like my other access locks. I mean, you look at an example like this where my 940 is just beautiful. I mean, this thing came out of the box a little tight, but as soon as I started opening and closing it, it became just super smooth. Now, you know, the issue, okay, so this is where I'm really going to get into the Benchmade rant, is I have, you know, every Benchmade I've gotten has something going on. Every single knife. This one had serious centering issues and action issues, and I sent it back to Benchmade. When I got it, I was like, oh, you know, this is my second upgrade knife. My Para 3 was the first. My stock Para 3, Murdered Out, was my first. This is my second, and I was disappointed. I got it, and the centering was so far off. After a week of carrying it, it was actually touching the scale. And that's when I called Benchmade and said, hey, you know, I'm really bothered by this. And I just wanted to send it back and have them fix it. And I did. And the knife came back to me. And when it came back to me, I was very specific with telling them what was wrong with the centering. And when it came back, it was still way off. I mean, not as far as it was after a week of carrying it, but it was still off. And I'm sure after 2 weeks of carrying it, it would have been touching the scale again. And it was, man, I was kind of bummed. And it came back sharpened, which I didn't need them to sharpen it. But, of course, you send it to Life Sharp, and they're going to sharpen it. But, you know, it did come back extremely sharp, and the blade grinds were very symmetrical. You know, it's not bad. It was sharp enough. It was good working sharp, obviously not a polished edge. But it came back in good working condition, but just, you know, way off in the centering. And the action was horrible too. So, you know, moving on, I'm really going to just talk about the problems I had with each knife. For instance, this knife, I got this one. It had really good action right out of the box. Probably my best example of a Benchmade was this 551-1 mini grip with the black coated blade. This one has relatively good centering. It does go on and off, but it's not super critical. I don't really mind the centering on this too much. It is a tighter tolerance. with this blade, and it does move back and forth. So I understand that it's gonna show more. But you know, this knife came in pretty good condition. I really loved the fit and finish on this knife, except I had some weirdness here with the coating where there was already chipping, and the more I used it, the more it chipped. I did call them and talk to them about that. They said that, you know, as long as it looked like a manufacturer defect, they would go ahead and replace the blade for free. So that's nice. But we'll see what happens when I send it back. And then also, I went to go ahead and adjust the pivot just because there was a little stickiness right near the close, like right here, it was sticking, as you can probably actually still see. It sticks right there. So I was just gonna mess with it a little, maybe polish the washers. Went to undo the screw, and there must be red Loctite in here. I could not get the screw out. And I tried, you know, I didn't heat it up yet and try that. I really don't want to. I'm just going to send this back to Benchmade and tell them, please, you know, whatever they did with this pivot, please replace the pivot, because it is, I did not want to continue to try and open this. I would have stripped it if I continued, or I had to heat it up to get that screw out. But I really don't think I should have to, so I'm going to wait and send it back to Benchmade. I'll probably replace this blade with a non-coated one too, because if I can, because I don't love Benchmade's coating, to be honest. Spyderco seems to be much better as far as the DLC coating that goes on the blades. The next knife, Benchmade, I'm going to talk about is the 940 I got. This 940, it came in excellent action condition. Amazing, but the blade grind was awful. I mean, awful. This, I don't know if you can see this. It's going to be hard to show you. You can see how thick behind the edge this is. This was so thick behind the edge that when I put my 17 degree, yeah, that's a 17 degree bevel on this secondary bevel. And look how wide it is. And that's due to the extreme thickness behind the edge right here. And I think that's due to the fact that they must have ground the hell out of this at the factory. You can see by the beard I don't have much left here. I also extended this plunge grind, which is hard to see, but you know, this blade doesn't have a lot of life left. And I'm going to bring out, and the blade grinds of Benchmade have been bad. Every one I've gotten have been pretty bad. I fixed this one, but it was pretty off as far as side to side. And then this is the best one I've gotten. This is the Benchmade Bugout. The Benchmade 940-1501, the KnifeWorks exclusive. I do love this knife with this knife. It does have an awesome, I love the 940. I really do. I'll probably review it coming up, but this knife came with a good grind, much better than the other 940. As you can see, look at how wide that blade is compared to the other 940. I mean, you can see I got a lot more blade there. And you look at the tips, and this is really when I knew how bad my other 940 was. Look at how much more tip I have there and how much thinner that tip gets. I mean, you could tell by the bevel there too. And this is only like an 18 or 19 degree bevel. And to have it that much wider with a 17, this is so thick behind the edge. And I'm kind of bummed with that. This one came out of the box with a horrible action. It was so stiff that I couldn't even do it. I had to use 2 hands to close the knife. That's how stiff it was. And after some wearing in, it still was so stiff I had to close it with 2 hands. I couldn't do that, that's for sure. I did take the pivot out and go ahead and polish the washers, and it's still not amazing. I still have to really coerce it into the knife. I still have to work it in. So, and it took some muscle memory to get used to it. But, you know, the grind was good, but now the action's bad on this one. It's just I can't get a knife that's everything is perfect. For $200, I expect to kind of get there, you know, $195 for this, or $199 for this, and I think this one was $195 because of the black coating. And I'm bummed with having to work on these knives and doing more to them to try and get them where I want them, and they're just, just not getting the quality I get from Spyderco with most of the knives I've gotten from Spyderco. This thing still has a little bit of rock, and it's not a really great action. It doesn't have that drop shutness of the other one, and I can't get it there, or I need to work on it some more to get it there. But yeah, I just can't get one that's like nothing wrong with it. Whereas, I mean, this is the first knife I got, and I mean, there was nothing wrong with this. It came out of the box with pretty good action, and then within a week had excellent drop shut action, and you know, the lockup's perfect, no movement, the centering was perfect. Everything just feels so tight and just amazing, smooth action, and the grind was very symmetrical. Now this is my edge on here now, but the grind out of the box was very symmetrical. You know, and the same thing goes for the way the Chaparral came out. Very symmetrical grinds, very thin blade that was ground very well, you know, perfect lockup, good action. The new one I just got, the new M4 version of the Blade HQ exclusive, this one came out amazing. After I worked on it, the action is absolutely perfect. Probably my best one yet as far as just the fit and finish. And then, of course, my Paramilitary 2, which you guys have seen in other videos. All of them came with excellent grinds, excellent action, perfect lockup. You know, the scales, everything just came out perfect. For cheaper, for less money, I'm getting a better quality knife. And the only thing that Benchmade really has going for them is their designs. Their designs are excellent. I love the Bugout. I really do. I love these knives. They got to get their quality control together. And I heard recently on videos that they're starting to get it back together. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen a knife come where I'm like, just everything's just right. This came close. This came close, but really just... it's just tough, man. It's when you're spending so much on a knife, you don't want to be working on it like crazy to try and get it where you want it. You want it to be fairly close, and then you just have to adjust a few things here and there, and it's there. But in conclusion, I'm just going to talk about these two knives just really quick and go over, you know, the things I like and the things I don't. I think they're both excellent choices. I think if you get a good one of the Bugouts, I mean, from what I've heard, it has amazing action. So I think I just got a really bad one, and I might talk to Benchmade about it and see if they can just replace it, or I don't know what they can do, but I'm just not stoked with this, and it's not finding its way into my pocket. This is the factory edge on this, and I've had this knife for probably 6 to 8 months. So for it to have the factory edge on it still, and I've just been stropping it back, which is a testament to the S30 in this knife, but it's just not finding its way into my pocket as much. And this one has a hard time not getting in my pocket. This is a good one for my summer shorts, and I love this knife. It's extremely light. It has all the capabilities I need for most of my everyday. I usually carry an extra knife with a little bit more beef to it that can do a little heavier duty stuff, but for the most part, this is plenty of knife for my daily things, and it fits excellently in the pocket. Both of them fit excellently in the pocket. They're both extremely light. Bugout definitely better for heavier duty, but they're both, you know, light duty knives, and I would recommend both of them. I would just say, you know, if you can get one of these in hand before you purchase it, I would highly suggest that. I can't because I live in Southern California and there's not very many places for me to go look at knives. I did look at one before I bought it, but it was, you know, I didn't end up buying the one that I saw because it had a serrated edge. But this one just came, I was very disappointed. And I'm sure Blade HQ would have done something for me, but I didn't feel like bitching to them. And I already had an issue with the first one I got. I accidentally ordered the serrated edge instead of the plain edge, which was my fault, and I didn't want to have them replace it again because of, you know, my stupidity in the first place. So, in conclusion, both of these knives are great. I would suggest both, but the Chaparral wins for me, just because of the things I talked about, really. And I don't know if this knife would win if it had better action, if it came out better. Maybe it would, but I just know with the ones I got, Chaparral wins. And I love this knife, and I love both of them, but this one wins for me. And I look forward to keeping this for a long time and it being a good, lightweight, light-duty knife for me. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and have a great day.